today's session is all about our dreams for the future. And many of you might have noticed that in our communications, especially over the last few weeks, we've been have really centered all around dreaming together. And so we want to reimagine a better future for all. And that requires big dreams. It requires courage and determination. And the dreams of the communities that we work with have become our dreams. So together we're focusing on making those come true. So I'm joined today by our CEO, Cass Treadwell, and board director, Keri Chittenden. And just over 12 years ago, Cass and Keri had a dream of building a school for a community that they met in an internally displaced persons camp in Kenya. And with the support of people like you, they quickly made that dream a reality. And ever since then, they've really dared to dream bigger. And it blows my mind to see that what the team and Cass and Keri have been able to achieve. And so we wanted to share that vision with you today, and really give you guys an opportunity to hear about some of the amazing work that's going on, but also some of those big audacious goals that we're working towards, and hopefully that you'll want to come along on that journey with us. So I think we have Keri on the phone because unfortunately Zoom is not working. So Keri, I just wanted to check that you're there and you can hear us okay?
I'm here. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can. Fantastic. Okay, great. Just before we jump into the questions with Cass and Keri, I thought it would be really fun to kind of hear what everyone else was dreaming of when they were growing up. So if you feel comfortable, I'd love to see in the chat if you want to share what you dreamt of when you were growing up. Hopefully we'll see a few coming through. Ellie wanted to be a journalist. You're almost there, Ellie. Still telling the important stories, which is great. Anyone else want to share?
Have they been shy, Poppy?
Tennis player. I know who that was. And the Wimbledon one at the moment too. A teacher, fantastic. Great. So Cass, while those responses are coming through, what did you dream of?
Hi everyone, it's great to see you all. I love seeing all the familiar faces online. Thanks for giving up your time and being here. So that's a big question. I'm a huge dreamer, as most of you guys might know. I get lost in it, which is why I have such a fantastic practical team. But probably my parents were both doctors, so I probably always kind of dreamt of being a doctor, but I actually went and did an exchange to Argentina when I was 16, so I skipped that year 12 for New Zealand and year 11 for Australia and didn't do any of the sciences, so I ended up doing law instead. But then I did go into medical law. I did my master's in medical law and ended up working in hospitals, which I loved. But I think probably what attracted me to medicine was just supporting people who are suffering, so I'm really lucky that I still get to do that through So They Can.
That's so awesome, Cass. And I can see a few other people in the room also looking to help people, and now they're nurses and winning the Tour de France.
Sean.
So I love those big goals. And Keri, what about you?
So bizarrely, when I was very little, I wanted to become a dancer, which quickly changed when I got the travel bug and did quite a lot of traveling, and I think I saw firsthand how much need there was in the world and how inequitable life could be, and that basically really inspired me to want to do more to help others outside of any career or job that I was to do. So I think my dreams were to have a career in a path that I wanted to do, which was project management, and then using those skills, I guess, then to help solve some of those problems I saw during my travels.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think Oprah Winfrey has a quote that education is our passport to the world. And it sounds like your travel was part of your education too. So Keri, we have some pretty big goals for 2030. Are you able to share with everyone here on the call and share how we landed on that goal?
Yes, sure. So basically, our mission is to provide quality education to children living in poverty, and we plan to do that through teacher training, teacher development, child wellbeing and health, women's empowerment. And to do that, we partner with community and government to enable a more holistic approach to what we do. So for 2030, SEVECAN's goals are to be working in 70 schools and working with over 32,000 students. And in addition to that, empowering over 3,000 women, working with 2,500 children through child wellbeing, and also trying to get children who are the most impoverished and most remote in the communities that we work in, getting them into school where they otherwise wouldn't be in school. And so our goal for 2030 is to get more than 6,000 of those children into school, which is a huge number of children that wouldn't otherwise be in school. So they're quite great, lofty goals, but we've done extensive monitoring and evaluation of our work to date, and we think they're realistic. They're challenging goals, but they're goals that we feel that when we break them down are all very achievable. So they're stretched goals, but we're very confident that we can achieve them. So we've got a busy time ahead.
Absolutely. And Cass, how do you see the team being able to deliver on that vision?
I think that's what I'm most proud of, actually, is our team, both in country in Kenya and Tanzania and back here in Australia and New Zealand. So I have 150% confidence in our ability to deliver on that. We also have a really clear and detailed sort of strategic plan. That includes the staged increase in our schools, as Keri was mentioning, going from currently 42 schools to 70 schools. And so we'll do that through our 3-phase implementation model that I know those of you that were on the call a month or so ago learned about. But basically, a school starts with us at the foundation level and then moves to core and then on to sustained. And as our schools transition along this sort of 3-phase model, we're then creating the space to bring more schools on again at that foundation stage when they the others have moved off to sustained. So for the next 9 years until 2030, our strategy is to remain focused geographically on Kenya and Tanzania. And that's because we're really, we're known there now and we're respected for the work that we've delivered. After the last sort of 10 years, we've built strong government and community and tribal relationships, and we've created these good private-public partnerships that many of you know about. So we feel that expanding our work within the regions of these two countries will be the most effective investment and improve that academic performance of that entire region. It also helps to stick to those sort of geographies because it enables us to accumulate accurate and informative monitoring and evaluation data so that we can compare our region's results to those of the sort of neighbouring regions where we're not working, so that therefore is us comparing similar environments. So I'm pretty confident. In fact, I'm hoping that in 9 years we're all on this call and we might have actually smashed those targets just quietly. Not meaning to scare you, Terry.
I have no doubt that we'll be smashing them. Now, Cass, having worked with you quite closely over the last year, one thing that I've been so impressed by is your unwavering ability to keep dreaming even bigger than anyone I know, even through the hard times. So can you tell us where you get your inspiration from and how you maintain that level of optimism and positivity?
Well, that's a really nice way of saying it, Poppy, because I'm sure it annoys people how I throw these ideas out all the time and, you know, those dreams. But it's certainly, without hesitation, it's the children on the ground and their families that inspire me. I mean, I've had so many stories from the ground. I talk about it as my classroom. You know, Africa's sort of my classroom in Africa. I learn so much from them. I'm so inspired from them constantly. I'm desperately missing being over there because I need that sort of fix of inspiration and motivation that I get from them as soon as I land on the ground. So, I've talked about it numerous times. They've got so little material wealth, but they don't hesitate to sort of break into song and dance or just smile through the hard times. I think I've told that story before of how I turned up a few years ago and all the woman when I first arrived said, "Oh, Cass, you've got really fat. It's fantastic." And it was like, wow, they celebrate even that. It's awesome. I love this place. It's very inspiring. So, I've thought hard about it. And I think it's our community's awareness of just how fragile and precious life is. So they really focus on what they can control and they don't get anxious about what they can't, which I think that latter is a bit of an affliction of the West. And I find it really inspiring. They just take notice of every day more than I think we do back here. And I find that inspiring. Yeah.
Totally. And Keri, how does the board continue to enable and encourage the team to not only dream big, but then actually deliver on these dreams?
Well, I think, firstly, we've come to the board with so many massive, big dreams over the years. Cass and I, have always never stood back and gone, "Oh, that's too hard, that's too big." We've always been about coming up with the big picture and the big dreams, which I think is part of our success to date. And we're very fortunate that the board has always been enabling and encouraging us, but yet very much stress testing, the theory and what we're doing and helping guide in our decisions whilst being very supportive. So I think so they can, as an organisation, it's always been a very nimble organisation. We've always been able to be flexible and very proactive in what we do and how we do it. And, we've been able to do that because the board has always seen the big picture and the end game in mind. Yet they've always kept us on track and really questioned what we were doing, but without stepping in the way of, letting management actually do what we needed to do on the ground. And they've always been very respectful of the fact that, Cass and I had so much experience on the ground and we could actually come to them with quite detailed and informative decision-making processes where we'd actually had a lot of the information come from the people themselves on the ground. So, the board is really encouraging and very much enabling. And, moving towards 2030, they're very supportive of the goals that we've set. So we're very appreciative of that. And, now I'm sort of wearing one hat instead of the two. It's even, more important that we step back and see the board as this supportive but yet guiding body for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And so important to kind of be able to kind of really drive that and see that that come to reality with the connections and the amazing sort of brains trust, not just of our board, but of the amazing supporters that we have around us too. Cass, Keri's just sort of touched on the the way that we work with actually understanding what the community needs and kind of helping them work with us to drive that. Can you talk a little bit more about the way that we co-design our projects and co-deliver our work in the community?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we've always approached programs, the development of the programs and the projects and the implementation in a very sort of inclusive fashion. We used to talk a lot about how everything we did was from the ground up. We're very conscious of we don't know what we don't know about the culture in Africa, and that's why we're so proud that we have a 100% localized team on the ground, so 100% Kenyan and African team on the ground, because we really need to listen to them and hear their ideas and also what will work. In saying that, we have a very clear program cycle documentation. It's quite a thick pack, which steps us through how we look at designing a new project or a new program or a new activity. And that goes from considering, the due diligence process, that it makes us consider whether the proposed activity or program meets our vision, is within our strategic plan, that we have the capacity to deliver it, and that it's best use of the dollar. So we start the process, though, sitting with the teams on the ground, looking at the needs, and then moving through that program design cycle. And then following it all up with very clear monitoring and evaluation, so that we can learn from the work that we've been doing and improve on it. And we've got an amazing monitoring and evaluation team, both in Kenya, Tanzania, and Terry heads that up back here in Australia as well. So we're at a really good stage where that's all, we got DFAT, Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade accreditation last year, and that is no mean feat. So the fact that that program cycle was accepted by the Australian government as one which ensures we are effective in our work was very reassuring for us, because we just really set down on paper what we've been doing for 10 years anyway. So that was good to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Such an achievement, such an honour. So we've just had a great question from the audience. Can you give us a bit of an update on what's happening now in Africa with COVID and how that's impacting our plans?
Yeah, sure. Shall I jump in there? Yeah. So we and I don't like the word pivot, because we didn't. We just expanded our development work that we were doing to include a COVID strategy. It's a fourfold strategy. So it started with educating the community about COVID. So we had created 152 water stations across our 3 communities, where people would come collect water for free with volunteers, and then they would get pamphlets that would hand out about COVID and prevention. The second stage, we also made masks. Our So Women Can team made almost 10,000 masks for the most needy in our communities. The second phase of our COVID strategy was continuing on the education that was being lost through children not being able to go to school because of school closures. So we created a number of education packs that we sent home to the children in Kenya and Tanzania, and then would mark them a month later. Thirdly was keeping girls in school. So there's 130 million children don't have access to education in the world, and around 90% of those live in sub-Saharan Africa. And the World Health predicted that 10 million more children would no longer have access to education due to COVID. So we've worked really hard on preventing that statistic from becoming a reality in our communities, and we're really proud to say that actually our attendance rates have gone up rather than down for the girls. So that's been fantastic. And then fourthly, returning to school as they did in Tanzania mid last year, and they did at the beginning of this year in Kenya. We've supported our schools through how they can keep the children safe at school and make up classes for them at school. So COVID is a very real reality in Africa still. We don't hear a lot about Africa back here and what's happening with COVID, but it's a problem, and it means that from a funding perspective for us, we've had to just find extra funding as well for our COVID work that we're doing, and also just look to support the team on the ground as they live through this every day without access to really testing, and even if they're positive, to care after that. So it's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I understand, particularly in Tanzania, where they kind of came out and had COVID as over parties back in like June last year or something. It's been quite a very different experience to how lucky we've been here in Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah, I mean, there's only, for example, I think there's 13 respirators in the whole of Kenya with a population of 40 million. So the reality is, if they're getting COVID over there, it doesn't look good. Yeah. So the prevention is key for us, and education on prevention of COVID, and that's working. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So both of you have spent a lot of time obviously over in Kenya and Tanzania. Maybe Keri, if you want to jump in, can you share a story of an inspiring dream that you've heard of from our community and how we've helped make that a reality?
Yeah, sure. I think on so many of my trips over there, what I found inspiring, well, there were so many impact stories and so many inspiring stories, but the things that always stood out for me and often the visitors was a lot of the impact that we had in our Wazeesha Women's Empowerment Program. So educating women, hearing their dreams. Basically, a lot of the women would come to us with no money, with no way to feed their children, no way to send their children to school. But these women had dreams and ambitions. They had business goals. And it was amazing to see and hear some of the dreams that these women had. So to be able to support those dreams with loans as little as $50, where they would buy a few seeds. One woman, Rachel, in a community called Kiptanwengi, and she had a son who was blind, got a $57 loan. Basically, she bought some seeds, she planted some crops, she grew those crops, she sold them, she came back for more loans after she had paid back her loans. Her loans then increased over time to she was loaning about $500 from us at a time. She built a house, she built water tanks, she built her business, she now sends her children to school, she now helps others in the community. So just those dreams to actually not ask for a handout, but want to have a business of their own, successful, being able to help others in their community once we'd helped them, was really inspiring. And, you know, we actually had another woman who, I love this story. She was so successful, she now employs her husband. Mm-hmm. And she's actually paid for him to do teacher training. So their whole life has been turned around just because of her one small dream and by us being able to support that dream. So for me, they are really, really impactful, and there's so many stories. We could go on, but they always stood out to me as being very tangible and very real and very immediate, and you can see the impact, and they're incredible.
Totally, that's so inspiring, and you can just see the commitment that those women who go through the Wazeesha Business Skills Program have to not just making their families' lives better, but the lives of their whole communities, which is really, really beautiful to see. Yeah. Cass, what about you? What's your favourite story or inspiring dream that you've heard lately?
I was just thinking as Keri was talking, favourite's hard because there's so many lovely ones, but probably the one that first comes to mind, which again many of you might have heard about, is from Faisal. So Faisal is one of our students at Aberdeen, who's one of our first students at Aberdeen Rangers Primary School, our first school in Kenya. And he was one of our first children that came into our Miramingi Children's Village as well. And I can remember sitting with him about 6 years ago when he was probably about 6 or 7 years old. And he's got this gorgeous husky voice. And I said to him that exact question, Poppy, that you asked me, what's your dream? What do you want to be when you grow up? And he said he wanted to be president of Kenya. And I'm actually going to try and share my screen because I videoed it because I ended up in tears. So I had to video what he was saying. And I'll just try that now and see if I can show you, because this is a video I found on my phone this morning of Faisal. I'll see if you guys can see this.
Yeah, that's working.
Is it showing? Here we go. Is that it? And I'll try to use my voice at the start. But
say that you were president of Kenya, so you've just won, you've had your big party, you've had fun, and you're president of Kenya. What's one of the first things you would like to do for this country?
I'm going to invite all the governors, all the elders of Kenya, and then welcome other presidents of other countries, even the Prime Minister of New Zealand.
And what will you talk about with them? What do you want to do with them in that meeting?
In that meeting, I'm going to tell them that peace is important in all countries, because in all countries, if you don't have peace, you are going to be fighting, breaking. You are going to kill people. So you should be peaceful to others and tell your countries you should be peaceful.
So that was little Faisal. I must say, I forgot to say at the start, he'd said to us about 3 years earlier that he wanted to be president. So it was totally his idea. And he now always talks about it. And people actually talk about Faisal as president, and he's gorgeous. So yeah, pretty inspiring.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It'd be such a good
you can.
Yeah, because he's unpacked. He didn't talk about money or, GDP or anything. He talked about, that Bhutan concept of happiness. It's lovely.
Absolutely. Well, you all met him virtually here first, so you can hopefully look back in another 15 years or so, and maybe we'll be watching him
I'll make
turn
sure
around the future.
We'll all get invited to the celebration party.
Yes, absolutely. And it looks like Rhonda on the call also met him and totally believes him, which is beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
So we've had a couple more questions come through, which have come from directly to me. So the first one's around Mitamingi Village, and someone's just asked, has that reopened? So who wants to take that question?
Oh, I'm happy. Keri, yeah.
So
basically, and we have tried to communicate this as much as we can through emails and virtual updates. So apologies if this hasn't got through to, sorry, I don't know the name of the person that asked the question, but in short, we're actually quite excited by the fact that COVID, what's that quote Bonnie on the ground said to me in March last year, Cass, just relax. What you say? Disaster or something is the mother of invention, something like that. Anyway, so the government telling us that we had to reallocate children in children's homes and our concern for the children in Nakuru at Mitamingi Village meant, as many of you will know, that we did reallocate all of our children at Mitamingi Village to extended family or community members. And we weren't sure how long that would be for, but we had our social workers monitoring them very closely during that time. And it's resulted in it being a very successful transition. It was a speed up of our reintegration process that we do at Mitamingi anyway. So the children and their families are all staying together, and we're not looking to reopen Mitamingi Village as a children's home, and we're still conducting the due diligence around what the actual capital infrastructure will look like at Mitamingi, but also looking at a potential another new program around that facility that we're just taking to the board, and we'll let you know as soon as we've finalised that. But the great news is that we can now talk about Mitamingi Children's Home as being in that third stage that I spoke about earlier of our program cycle being sustained. So we've enabled the children to come in, we've supported them, we've looked after them, and then we've placed them back into the community where they really should be, ideally when they're able to be. And they're all happy and doing well. We stay in touch with them. They're part of our integration project, which means that we continue to fund and support the families, ensure that they and their now siblings all have the support they need to go to school and to be healthy and safe. So it's actually quite an exciting result of the disaster of COVID.
Yeah, it's a really incredible story to hear. And when I was helping with the annual report, just watching or reading the stories and hearing how all these kids are back with their families and so happy is just such an incredible thing to see. So quick plug for the annual report. If you want to hear some great stories, there are some really lovely ones in there as well. We have another question. Keri, maybe you want to jump in here, and someone's just asked a little bit more about So Women Can. Is it still in operation, and what are they up to? So Keri, do you want to tell everyone what's been going on there?
Yeah, sure. So Women Can is another success story. We've basically been able to hand So Women Can over to the women that we have trained as a successful ongoing business. So our ultimate goal in all of our projects is sustainability and empowering the community. So we've actually got to the stage with these women that we've been able to hand over the business as an ongoing concern, which they will now manage and run themselves. So we will now essentially be their client. So when we order things from So Women Can, So They Can will be their client, and they actually have a business that they can then employ other people in the community. They can supply the uniforms still to the school. And basically take that business to wherever they want to take it. So we've put them through the business skills course, and they now, I'm very, very happy to say, have a business up and running, and it's really, really encouraging to see how that empowerment has really, really paid off. So that's currently where it's up to. So COVID obviously played a bit of a part in what the women were up to. They were able to make the masks, which was fantastic, and then school stopped for a long period of time, which meant there was no uniforms being made. But now that the uniforms are back on track, the uniform shop's still at school, it's pretty much business as usual, except they're the boss.
And just to add to that as well, they are now also making our NEAR, which means Empowerment Girls Packs, so our sanitary packs, which we now give out to all the girls as part of our Keeping Girls in School, which enables them to not miss a week, a month of school when they have their period. So it's incredibly impactful. So beautiful ripple effects from So Women Can.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's so incredible to hear that story. Amazing. So I do have a couple of questions left, but I'll just also give everyone in the audience an opportunity to ask questions. So please keep them coming in the chat. There have been some really great ones so far. Keri, now that you're a board director and less involved in the day-to-day, can you share a little bit about how you maintain your connection to what's going on the ground, and perhaps any recommendations that you have for anyone here on the call as well?
Yeah, sure, Poppy. So it's been a massive change for me, and one that it's taken quite a while to get used to, not being involved so much on the day-to-day after 11 years. But I really am so keen to stay connected. So I guess the main ways I do that is obviously through a lot of the social media updates, which are really informative and fantastic for, that day-to-day fix. And then Cass and I are still very much in close contact and chat through things, and have a lot to do with each other in terms of chatting through so they can and what is happening. I obviously attend the board meetings. There's a lot of information that comes through that. And I'm still a sponsor. So I have 3 sponsor children. So that's another great way that I stay connected. And just through various emails and chatting with supporters that I know, and staying connected that way is fantastic. We've also got now the Champions of Change, which is a monthly call with Cass, talking about different things and how people are involved and what they can do to raise money, et cetera, et cetera. So that's another great way to stay connected. So it's really tricky because, no one can travel, which is quite hard. As much as we'd like to get over there, it's, we still all want to stay connected and up to date with what's going on. So they're the main ways, I guess, that I'm still staying connected. But it's great. Cass is always available for a one-on-one if anyone wanted to contact her, as I do when I'm going, what's going on with this? So it's lovely. And I still feel very connected and still very much a part of the organisation. But now that it's in Terry's very safe hands on a day-to-day basis, I love hearing how it's all going.
Yeah, she can't get rid of us, basically, Poppy. She's on.
I don't want to.
That's great. So I've just got one last question for each of you, actually, from the audience, and it's a great one. So what is your one dream for the future? And Cass, maybe you want to go first.
Man, you're so hard the way you just asked. Like, we have to narrow these things down to one, but so I'm just going to sort of expand on that. So I've been lucky. Some of my dreams have already come true, and one of them was to have just this incredible international So They Can family. And I'm going to get more emotional about it, but yeah, we have an amazing Australian team. We have a New Zealand team, which is incredible. We've really been growing the New Zealand Trust, and under that as well as a foundation just made up of wonderful people that help contribute to our income and our sort of strategy as well. We've got our Kenyan and our Tanzanian teams that, as I said, 100% localized, incredibly wise and professional people on the ground. And then, but also just you guys, the amazing supporters that have been with us from either day one or just joined last week, that just keep us going. So that's been a huge dream, to have this warm, understanding and generous So They Can family. But looking forward, probably my big dream really is, and I've spoken about it in numerous occasions and TEDx and stuff, but it's to revolutionize charity from this concept, which I get so frustrated with, of the great white savior, with people giving money out of ego or guilt, and to revolutionize that perception to what is the reality, which is it's an equal partnership, exchanging really education for both. So we exchange material wealth so that the children in Africa can be educated, but they educate us on how to live well. And those of us that have been with me to Africa, I know Warwick, you'd say the same. You've felt that experience of being educated on just don't sweat the small stuff. And when people realize that, and the definition of charity changes to that, an equal partnership, it means that people are going to give because it's an investment in their personal well-being, and they won't have to be asked to give. And then we can spend the time we spend fundraising on expanding our reach and making a greater impact. So it's just such a great win-win. So that is my dream, and I'm determined to make it a reality, where people are knocking on our door saying, please, will you take my money, because I know it's good for me to be connected to these amazing people.
And Cass, knowing you, I have absolutely no doubt that you will make that happen. And I think we already are a little bit. Keri, what about you?
Well, absolutely everything that Cass just said. It's amazing. And that's totally, as an organisation where we want to be. I think from a on the ground point of view, my dream is to see, the most marginalised and poorest children who really, really, without help from organisations such as ourselves, would really not have an education. So I'd like to see those children going to schools that are well-resourced, with effective teachers, coming home to a supportive family, and those children are healthy. So it's the whole package for me in that big goal, not just seeing them go to school, but seeing them come home to supportive families and being healthy, I think is important. And also when they're at school, that the teachers are actually really good teachers, and the schools actually have some resources to teach those children rather than just getting them into school. So, that's really the big picture for me, for those sort of most marginalised communities.
Yeah, that's amazing, Keri, and I love that your dream is exactly what So They Can is trying to deliver. So it's so great to see that sort of values alignment and vision alignment there, as you'd expect from a co-founder. I have one more question here from the audience, which is a bit of a fun aside, but have you signed up for the chain reaction ride next year?
Definitely no. That's way too hard.
Maybe you can peer pressure a friend to do it instead for you.
Yeah, no.
Cass, you're on mute. It is inspiring, and our amazing COO did it this year.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Technical issues. I was just going to say that that's probably a Keri question, but I heard her going out of that one. So I would like to, Vic. This is an incredible 1,000-kilometre ride that Sean, our COO, and Vic, who's on the line here, did for us in April this year, and raised an incredible $110,000 for us. I would love to do it, unfortunately, and I am thinking about it, but every time I get on a bicycle, I break something, not on the bicycle, on my body. So I'm pretty useless at it. I'd rather sort of run it, to be honest, but I'm thinking about it.
Well, maybe that, or the One Human Race challenge next year, which I know we'll definitely be doing. Fantastic. Well, with that, I'll just encourage everyone here. I'd love to see your dreams. What are your dreams for the future? So if you'd like to share those in the chat. I do just have a few words to say before we wrap up. Firstly, I would love to say a massive thank you to Cass and Keri and everyone else here on the call. Gosh, it's always so inspiring to hear the work that you're doing and really looking to change the future for so many less fortunate than ourselves. So everyone who's attended today, thank you for your ongoing support. It's without people like you, we'd just never be able to achieve so much. Now, in Australia, it's the end of financial year today, and that means it's your last chance to make a tax-deductible donation. So for everyone who donates in Australia, we'll be sending out a mask as a small token of our appreciation. So do make sure that you get your donation in today. But you can also make an even bigger impact by joining our sponsorship program today as well. That's, as Keri said, such a great way to maintain connection with what's going on in the ground. So we have 3 different sponsorship options. You can either sponsor a student and then you get a buddy that you get to write to, which is such an awesome thing to do. That's something that I signed up for and brings a lot of joy to everyone who I share the letters with as well. And then you can sponsor a school as part of a collective of people. So it takes 40 people to sponsor a school. And again, you can really feel like you're part of something looking after that whole school. And then you can also sponsor a family. So that's sort of through our family strengthening program, which enables us to look after those most vulnerable families and really help build them up and give them the skills and the ability to kind of become, to break the poverty cycle for not just themselves, but for the future generations as well. So if you haven't sponsored yet, we'd love to have more sponsors join us. And I can't speak more highly of the feeling of community. And as Cass said, that sort of equal partnership concept, it really feels real through the sponsorship program. Cass, did you want to say something?
Sorry, yeah, but even though today is the end of financial year in Australia, in New Zealand, we're happy to give you a receipt whenever you like to donate. So feel free if you're in New Zealand as well.
Yes, every day is a great opportunity to help. Fantastic. So just lastly, as always, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram as a really nice way to keep connected. Ellie on the call does such an amazing job at telling the stories. She catches up with the team every week and is always flooded with content that she can share and stories. And it's just like the most lovely thing to kind of wake up to in the morning and jump onto the So They Can's pages and see all the great stuff that's being shared there. So just follow us at So They Can on Facebook or Instagram. And then lastly, we'll be sending out a short survey at the end of this event, as we always do. We'd love your feedback, any ideas of things that you'd like to hear more about, any other feedback on this actual session would be fantastic. I know we had a few tech issues, but any feedback that you give us is a gift, and we would love to be able to improve these sessions and make them even more engaging and interesting for you all. So please keep an eye out for that, and if you don't mind just taking 2 minutes of your time to fill it out, that would be awesome.
Can I just do the terrible thing and button again? So just 2 quick things I want to add now that I've got your trapped attention. In October this year, the 16th, which is World Food Day, we're having our So They Can global dinner party, going back to the very first time we fundraised, which was Each So They Can. So asking hosts all around the world to hold a dinner party on the same night. If you're interested in that, can you just email me directly, any of us really, and just say you'd be interested to be a host. We're going to support you hugely with things like videos from ambassadors. And yes, I saw one of the questions was about Neil Finn. Is he still involved? He's very, very much still involved. In fact, I'm popping up to Auckland to see him in a few weeks. So he'll be sort of supporting online with videos for the dinner party and all those kind of things. So we'd love to have as many people as possible joining our global dinner party. And then secondly, the One Human Race concept, which a number of you got involved in, it's our annual March virtual challenge event. So we're moving, run, walk, swim, bike 85 kilometres over the month of March. So it's just, again, that great reciprocity of good for your well-being and personally, and then money raised goes to support the 85% of our girls in East Pokot who are cut or sold before they're 13. So just spread the word, because we'd really love that to go viral and massive and huge and bring in lots of income. So yeah, just keep those dates in mind, please.
Thanks, Cass. And you are all the very first people to hear about the global dinner party event. So no, it's fine, Cass. We always surprise launch these events here on our virtual events. So it's a great reason to come along, because you'll always be the first to know anything that's going on with our group. But stay tuned to our socials for the official launch next month. And of course, you are welcome. Please do email Cass if you're interested in being involved. We just don't have a page up yet, but we'd love to share more with you. And it's always fun to be the first to kind of sign up to these things. So we'd love to have you there. Okay, well, with that, I don't think we have any more questions. I didn't see the question about Neil Finn, so hopefully that we haven't missed any questions, but I hope you all have a really wonderful rest of your week. And thank you all so much for your support as always, or asante sana, I should say. Take care, stay safe, and we hope to see you at another event soon. And thank you once again, Cass and Keri.
Thank you, Poppy. Amazing MC as always. Thanks, Keri. Lovely to see you all.
Everyone.
Bye.